Ladies and gentlemen, there is a moment in life when you decide enough. Enough of being overlooked, enough of being an option, enough of waiting for someone to realize your worth. And in that moment, you don't just leave, you take with you every ounce of love, warmth, and light you once gave so freely. And that absence, that silence, it speaks louder than any words ever could. Because here's the thing, when you love deeply, your presence becomes a part of someone's existence. You're in the way the morning coffee tastes, in the way the house feels when it's no longer filled with laughter, in the way their world dims without your fire. But some people only understand love when it turns into a memory. And when that realization hits, when they wake up and finally feel the weight of your absence, it won't be gentle, it won't be subtle. It will be a storm, a hollow ache that lingers in every quiet moment, and by then you will be long gone. Not because you wanted to hurt, but because you chose to heal. You see, power is not in making someone miss you. It's in making them realize that they had something irreplaceable and let it slip away. So walk away with your head high, your heart whole, and your soul unshaken. Because losing you, that will be their greatest regret. And you will be unstoppable. There comes a time in life when you stop waiting for someone to see your worth and start recognizing it yourself. It's not an easy realization. It comes after moments of doubt, after questioning if you were ever enough, after giving your all and still feeling like an afterthought. But here's the truth. Your worth was never meant to be proven to anyone. It was always there, whole and unshaken. You just needed to see it. When you love deeply, you pour yourself into another person, offering them the best parts of you, your laughter, your kindness, your unwavering support. You bend, you compromise, you try to understand their silences, their flaws, their shortcomings, and yet somewhere along the way, you start shrinking. You start making excuses for why your needs don't matter as much, why your feelings should take the back seat, why the love you give so selflessly isn't being returned in the same way. But love should never cost you your sense of self. It should never make you question your own value. If you have to beg to be prioritized, if you have to constantly remind someone how much you matter, then the problem isn't you, it's them. Because the right people don't need reminders. They see your worth without you having to spell it out. Stepping away isn't about seeking revenge or teaching a lesson. It's about reclaiming yourself. It's about standing tall in your truth and saying, I deserve more. Because you do. You deserve to be loved loudly, completely, and without hesitation. You deserve to be chosen every single day, not as an option, not as a convenience, but as a priority. And when you finally walk away, when you take back all the energy, the time, and the love you once gave so freely, that's when the weight of your absence will be felt. Because the thing about people who don't value you is that they only realize what they had when it's gone. Suddenly, the silence becomes unbearable. The space you occupied feels too large to fill, and the warmth you brought is replaced by an emptiness they can't ignore. But by then, you will have already risen. Not in anger, not in bitterness, but in strength. Because knowing your worth means understanding that you were never the one losing. It means embracing the fact that walking away isn't giving up. It's choosing yourself. And that choice, that is the most powerful thing you will ever do. So never shrink yourself for someone who refuses to grow. Never settle for being tolerated when you were meant to be celebrated. And never, ever let anyone make you forget just how extraordinary you are. Because once you see your own worth, you will never accept anything less than what you truly deserve. And that is where your power begins. There is an undeniable presence in the way you love, an energy, a warmth, a rhythm that fills the spaces around you. When you give your heart, you don't do it in halves. You pour yourself into every moment, every conversation, every shared silence. You become a part of someone's routine, their comfort, their safe place. And when you leave, it is not just your physical presence that disappears. It is the very essence of what made life feel whole. People often take for granted the little things that make love so powerful. The way you remember their favorite meal, the way you instinctively know when something is wrong before they even say a word, the way your laughter fills the air and makes even the heaviest days feel lighter. These things seem small until they are no longer there, and that is where the void begins. At first, they might not notice it. They might believe that life moves on seamlessly, that your absence is just a shift, not a loss. But then the silence starts to settle in. The absence of your voice in the morning, the missing touch of your presence in the spaces you once occupied, the realization that their world now feels just a little less alive. It's in the way their favorite song plays and suddenly it doesn't sound the same without you singing along. It's in the way their phone stays quiet, no longer lighting up with your messages that once brought them warmth. It's in the way they look around, expecting to see you in the places you once stood, only to be met with the empty reminder that you are no longer there. The void you leave behind is not just an emptiness. It's an echo of everything you once were to them. It's a lingering presence in the absence, a weight in the air that refuses to be ignored. They will try to fill it with distractions, with noise, with temporary fixes that do nothing but highlight just how irreplaceable you were. Because the truth is, you were never just another person in their life. You were a force. You were the warmth in their coldest moments, the calm in their chaos, the one who saw them in ways they never had to explain. And now they are left to face the reality of what it means to lose something they can never get back. But by the time they truly understand the depth of that loss, you will be beyond their reach. Because the void you leave behind is not your burden to carry. It is theirs. They will have to sit with it, feel it, and come to terms with the fact that they let go of something rare, something real. And that will be the greatest lesson they never expected to learn. Walking away is not an act of weakness. It is one of the strongest things you will ever do. It is easy to stay, to hold on, to convince yourself that if you give a little more, if you wait a little longer, things will change. But real strength is in knowing when enough is enough. It is in recognizing that love should not require you to constantly prove your worth or fight for the bare minimum. There comes a moment when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop justifying why you feel the way you do, when you stop waiting for someone to see your value and instead you choose yourself. That moment is not a breakdown, it is a breakthrough. Because walking away is not about giving up on love. It is about refusing to accept a version of it that diminishes you. Strength is in realizing that staying in a place where you are not appreciated does not make you loyal. It makes you lost. It makes you forget who you are, what you deserve, and the kind of love that was meant for you. And the hardest part is stepping away from something you once wanted so badly, from something you gave so much to. But strength is in understanding that loving someone does not mean losing yourself in the process. When you walk away, you reclaim your power. You take back every piece of yourself that was overlooked, every moment you felt unseen, every part of you that was slowly fading into the background. And while they may expect you to beg, to plead, to come back, they will be met with silence, not out of spite, not out of anger, but out of the deep understanding that you deserve more than what they were willing to give. And the moment they realize that you are truly gone, that you are not waiting, that you are not looking back, that is when the weight of their choices will settle in. Because walking away is not just about leaving a person behind. It is about removing your love, your kindness, your presence from their world. It is about showing them, without words, that you were never the one who lost. It will not be easy. There will be days when doubt creeps in, when the memories feel too heavy, when the silence feels too loud. But with every step forward, you will realize that the pain of leaving is temporary, while the pain of staying in the wrong place lasts a lifetime. And then one day you will wake up and the weight will be gone. You will feel lighter, freer, more whole than you ever did before. Because choosing yourself, choosing your peace, choosing your happiness, That is where true strength lies. And once you find that strength, there is no turning back. Regret is a haunting thing. It does not come all at once. It creeps in slowly, silently, settling into the corners of the mind like a shadow that refuses to fade. At first, it disguises itself as indifference, as if life can move forward unchanged. But then, piece by piece, moment by moment, it builds until it becomes undeniable, the realization that something truly irreplaceable is gone. Regret does not strike when distractions are loud and days are full. It comes in the quiet, in the spaces where your presence once lived. It echoes in the middle of the night when they roll over expecting to feel you beside them only to be met with emptiness. It lingers in familiar places, in the scent of a sweater you left behind, in the songs you used to sing along to, in the jokes only the two of you understood. At first they tell themselves it's fine. They convince themselves that they will move on, that they will find someone new, that what you had was not so special after all. But regret does not allow itself to be dismissed so easily. It tightens its grip in unexpected ways. A random memory that hits too hard, a fleeting scent that brings back 1,000 moments, a sudden wave of loneliness that no one else can fill. They will try to ignore it, to bury it beneath distractions, but regret is persistent. It is not just the memory of what was. It is the painful awareness of what could have been. It is the what if that never fades, the knowledge that they had something rare, something real, and they let it slip away. They will think back to the way you loved them, to the way you showed up even when they didn't ask, to the way you made them feel safe, seen, understood, and they will realize too late that no one else carries the same warmth, the same fire, the same irreplaceable magic that you did. Regret is not just missing a person. It is mourning the version of themselves that existed when they were with you. It is looking back and wishing they had held on tighter, appreciated more, tried harder. But by the time they understand, by the time they feel the weight of all they lost, you will already be gone. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. You will have healed, moved forward, grown beyond the version of yourself that once waited for them to realize your worth. And that is the deepest cut of all, not your absence, but your indifference. The moment they realize that they no longer have the power to reach you, to change the outcome, to undo what they took for granted, that is when the echo of regret becomes deafening. That is when they finally understand the cost of losing you. But you will no longer hear it. Because you have already stepped into a life where regret has no place. Only freedom. Rebuilding yourself after loss is not just about moving on. It is about rising higher than ever before. It is about taking everything that tried to break you and using it as the foundation for something stronger, something unshakable. It is not an easy process, but it is a necessary one, because after pain, after heartbreak, after disappointment, there comes a moment when you decide, I will not stay down. I will not let this define me. I will rise. At first, it feels impossible. The weight of the past clings to you, the memories replay like an unwanted song, and the absence of what once was feels overwhelming. But piece by piece, step by step, you begin to reclaim yourself. You learn to sit with the silence without fearing it. You learn to wake up and find joy in the little things again. You learn that healing is not about forgetting, but about choosing yourself in ways you never did before. The beauty of rebuilding is that you get to decide who you become. You get to let go of the parts of you that shrank to fit into spaces too small, the parts that settled for less, the parts that kept waiting for someone else to realize your worth. You no longer seek validation in the eyes of others. You find it within yourself. And slowly something shifts. The sadness turns into strength. The hurt turns into wisdom. The love you once poured into someone else, you now pour into yourself. You invest in your dreams, your happiness, your growth. You do not just survive, you thrive. The best part? The moment they finally look back, the moment they realize what they lost, you will not be in the same place they left you. They will search for the version of you that once needed them, but that version no longer exists. You have evolved, flourished, become someone so powerful that the past can no longer reach you. This is not revenge. This is not about proving a point. This is about becoming everything they failed to appreciate. This is about turning pain into power, loss into liberation. Because at the end of the day, the greatest victory is not making them regret losing you. It is realizing that you never truly lost anything. You only made space for something greater. So, rise. Not to be seen, not to be missed, but because you owe it to yourself. You owe yourself the love, the happiness, and the success that you once dreamed of. You owe yourself a life so full, so beautiful, so fulfilling, that looking back is no longer an option. And when they finally see you radiant, whole, unstoppable, they will know losing you was not just their biggest mistake, it was their greatest loss. But you were never lost, you were simply waiting to rise. There is a special kind of ache that comes with knowing something beautiful could have existed but never did. It is not the sharp pain of betrayal, nor the sudden loss of something tangible. It is the slow, lingering sorrow of what was almost, but never fully became. A love that had all the potential in the world, but for one reason or another was left unfinished, incomplete, unresolved. At first you tell yourself it does not matter. You try to rationalize it, to convince yourself that if it was meant to be, it would have been. But deep down you know the truth. Some things do not fail because they lack love, but because they lacked effort, timing, or courage. And that is the hardest part, knowing that the love was there, that it was real, that it had all the ingredients to be something extraordinary, but it was never given the chance to fully bloom. The thoughts of what could have been follow you in the quiet moments. It is in the unfinished conversations, the words left unsaid, the dreams that once felt so possible. It is in the almost of it all, the almost love story, the almost forever, the almost happiness. And while life moves forward, there is always that small part of you that wonders, what if? What if they had fought harder? What if they had chosen you the way you chose them? What if they had seen what you saw? Would everything have been different? Would the ending have changed? Or was it always meant to be this way? An unfinished chapter, a story left untold. But as time passes, you begin to understand that not every love story is meant to be written to the end. Some exist only to teach, to shape, to change you in ways you never expected. They come into your life like a spark, intense and fleeting, leaving behind lessons that stay long after the person is gone. And maybe that is their purpose, not to be the love that lasts, but the love that prepares you for what is truly meant for you. Eventually, the ache of what could have been softens. You learn to stop reaching back for a story that was never meant to be finished. You accept that some connections are not lost, they are simply incomplete, frozen in time, existing only in the space between memory and imagination. And one day, when you look back, it will not be with sadness, but with gratitude. Gratitude for the way it shaped you, for the way it taught you what you deserve, for the way it proved that you are capable of loving deeply. Because even though it was never fully realized, it was still real, it still mattered. But most of all, you will understand that the love that could have been is nothing compared to the love that will be. And that is the love that will find you when you are finally ready to receive it.